in all honesty, like when I stopped playing, it was like a depression. Like I was like, what am I going to do? This has been my whole life, working out and getting ready, and just the competition like that. It fueled me. I was like, where am I going to get this feeling from again?
Yeah.
And coaching gave me a little bit of that. And in all honesty, I really got into coaching because I wanted to feel that competitive nature. But it's crazy how you do it longer and longer. And I love to compete. I still love that feeling after a win, and hate the feeling after a loss. But now it's all about the relationships. So there's no better feeling than just being around the guys and getting invited to weddings and seeing guys. We're a young program, so now guys are getting married and having kids and things like that. I mean, it's the everyday relationships that really keep me going now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Clearing the Bases, the podcast where we step up to the plate and dive deep into the world of youth baseball. I'm your host, Jimmy Filangieri. On this show, we discuss all things related to the preparation and development of youth baseball players, coaches, and yes, even parents. So sit back, settle in, and get ready to hear from some of the greatest baseball minds out there.
And JUCO's great baseball, man. It's some awesome baseball. And it's the same thing with the NAIAs. A few years ago, I didn't even know what NAIA is, but now I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
You want to play baseball? You want to get an education? Like, the options are kind of shrinking a little bit. Again, if you're kind of just into your own mold of this is what I'm going to do. But to me, people just got to open up their eyes to everything that's out there now. And college coaches want guys that have already played in college. So JUCO is an amazing route right now.
Okay, so we finished up our conversations with the Diamond Coaches Development Group, and now we're going to jump back into the college ranks and do an interview with a college coach. But before we get to that interview, let's hear a few words about the Six Tool app.
For baseball coaches like you, every game brings measurable progress. However, game time isn't the time for trial and error learning. Instead, have a proactive approach. Use Six Tool, the best baseball player development tool on the market. We provide a platform to level up your coaching strategy by helping you to quickly identify and address your players' knowledge of the game. By using our easy-to-implement interactive player quizzes, you can assess position-specific issues, overall baseball IQ, and much more. Win more games and develop better overall baseball players with effective off-the-field training. Visit us at six-tool.com. Six Tool. Get ahead in the game.
So tonight we have on Mike Cassidy. He is the head coach of Marymount University in Arlington, Virginia. Now, this will be Mike's fourth season as a head baseball coach at Marymount, and he has been part of the staff since the inaugural season at Marymount in 2014. Last year, Mike's staff was named the Atlantic East Conference Staff of the Year. In 2024, Marymount Baseball set a program record with 10 all-conference performers, and the Saints were ranked for the first time in program history, reaching as high as number 22 in the national polls. Marymount won a program record 31 games to earn the number one seed in the Atlantic East Conference Tournament. Mike Cassidy has a wealth of coaching experience across the state of Virginia. In 2005, he was an assistant at his alma mater at Averett University. 2008, he was assistant coach for 5 years at Bishop O'Connell High School. 2013, he coached at his high school alma mater at Lake Braddock Secondary School. He is the co-founder and director of Metropolitan Baseball Academy in Lorton, Virginia. He was the founder and director of Nova South Baseball Academy for 4 years and was co-owner of Virginia Baseball Club, this I'm going to screw up, people, Occoquan, for 6 years before that. Mike was an assistant coach with the Martha's Vineyard Sharks in the Futures Collegiate League in 2015 and was then named the head coach of the Elite Summer League squad for 2016 and 17. In 2018, Mike was named the pitching coach of the FCA Braves in the Cal Ripken Collegiate League, where he served through the 18 and 19 seasons. In 2019, the FCA Braves pitching staff finished as the number 2 staff in the Cal Ripken Collegiate League. Mike has been the head coach of numerous highly competitive showcase teams, including the Virginia Barnstormers, Virginia Shamrocks, and Metropolitan Senators. Now, this is the thing that I really love. Mike was a 3-sport athlete in high school and played his collegiate ball at Averett University. Mike is a fellow member of the ABCA, and I was fortunate enough to meet him at the 2023 Youth Baseball Summit in Kansas City, and was able to continue the relationship this past November at our summit in Georgia. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you for having me, Jimmy. I've been looking forward to this, man.
Yeah, this is great. I got to tell you that I've been doing a lot of shows with people from the summit, and I got to tell you that the wealth of knowledge that you guys provide is just incredible. And I think it's great that I'm able to get you on here and you can share that knowledge with our listeners.
Oh man, it's those have been amazing. Meeting guys like you and everybody else, and I've heard some of the guys that you've had on the show from the summit. Just always a really good time and just amazing ideas. I mean, I got my notepad out the whole time, trying to listen and learn from guys. So it's a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, I don't know if you probably didn't notice, but I keep my phone out and I'm taking notes constantly and I'm taking pictures. And I mean, look, we would be fools, right? We have all of these guys there that are very good, very great baseball minds. Why would we not take advantage of learning from each other?
Oh, 100%, man. I try to learn something new every single day, at least one thing. And I don't care who it comes from. Pudge, actually, I was telling one of my assistant coaches because the ABCA is going to be like in our backyard this year. So a lot of the Marymount coaches will be there. A lot of our coaches from the academy, the Metro Baseball Academy, will be there. And I was telling one of them the other day, I was like, Pudge told me this a couple years ago, and I still do it. Just take a little notepad, have it in your back pocket, because you go out and have some drinks and stuff with people, and it's just you don't know who you're going to run into when you're out at these conventions and events like that. And just pull it out and ask questions, and people are always gonna. We're baseball guys. We all want to share the knowledge. So I'll be doing that same thing here this week.
Yeah, and I find that baseball guys are, I guess, more eager to share than other sport coaches will say.
Yeah, I think guys want to. I mean, it's what we do all the time. Um, and I think guys appreciate when you ask them questions. I mean, I sure do. I mean, I'm there trying to learn, but anytime somebody just comes up randomly and asks a question, I got no problem sitting down and talking and bouncing ideas back off each other. It's how we get better.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that that's the wonderful thing with having so many coaches in one spot that, if you walk out of there and you're not a better coach from just being there for those 2, 3 days, then something's wrong because you had to learn at least one thing.
You're 100% correct. 100% correct.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your journey. Okay, so, in the beginning, I rambled off a lot of stuff about your history and where you've been as a coach. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I grew up doing multiple sports. I mean, I was doing anything and everything, and then in high school, I kind of settled in to baseball, football, and wrestling. My sophomore year, I started doing all three. I was actually cut my freshman year from baseball. I was tiny. And I went to a really good school, and it's funny. I talk to younger players all the time about that when adversity's hitting and things aren't going right for them, and it's like if I hadn't kept working at it, I was cut my freshman year, and now baseball is my life. It's my livelihood. It's everything that I do. So so sophomore year on, it was really all about the three different sports and, one season right into the next one. And um, actually, wrestling, I was probably best at wrestling. And again, I was tiny, so it's weight classes. I was actually competing against people that were my own size. And football is my number one love still to this day. Like football is my favorite thing. Sundays watching the Skins play, I look forward to it all week. But baseball was just something that was instilled in me, and I loved it. And took a chance. My senior year, I broke my leg.
Ouch.
So I wasn't even really recruited. I got recruited to Averett. They were starting a football team. It was the
Oh,
first year ever, and I got a letter about that, and I was like, well, maybe I'll just go down there and see if I can play baseball. It was nothing like what you see today, where you're out at showcases and things like that. And I just kind of took a chance and thought I was going to be there for a year or two and transfer, and fell in love with it down there. And the head coach there is Ed Fulton. Was just, you want to talk about a player's coach, unbelievable wealth of knowledge and just a cool guy. And I was on the 4.5 year track to graduate. So that last semester, he let me start coaching, and it was go take them. Like there was no micromanaging. You're the outfield coach, and you're going to help me with hitting. And just I loved it. I
yeah.
mean, in all honesty, like when I stopped playing, it was like a depression. Like I was like, what am I going to do? This has been my whole life, working out and getting ready, and just the competition like that. It fueled me. I was like, where am I going to get this feeling from again?
Yeah.
And coaching gave me a little bit of that. And in all honesty, I really got into coaching because I wanted to feel that competitive nature. But it's crazy how you do it longer and longer. And I love to compete. I still love that feeling after a win, and hate the feeling after a loss. But now it's all about the relationships. There's no better feeling than just being around the guys and getting invited to weddings and seeing guys. We're a young program, so now guys are getting married and having kids and things like that. I mean, it's the everyday relationships that really keep me going now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've talked about it a lot of times where, I have players that maybe I coached them years ago in travel baseball or whatever, and they're at that age now where they're, committing to colleges. And there's no greater feeling when you get that text message from a kid you haven't coached in 4 years saying, "Hey, coach, thanks for everything you did. I committed with such and such." And like you said, I say it all the time on this show. It's all about relationships. The whole thing is. And I also love the fact that you talked about, you being small and, having that adversity as a freshman. We just had Tabor Mongero on a couple of weeks ago, and Tabor's similar situation. And I think it's a great message for the youth to hear and parents of young players to hear that, you know, just because you get cut means nothing. You
Mm-hmm.
have to grind and go after it and compete.
Yeah. No, it is. It changed me as a person. I mean, I was always one of the best players on the team, but I got to a really, really good high school, and everybody was further along in their development. Like I should have been cut that year. And it's one of those things that, you can either just take that and do something else, or it can fuel you. And I think it's fueled me all through my coaching career as well. Kind of like deep down, it showed me like my parents were dropping me off at the batting cage every day, to let me go hit on my own,
Yeah.
during the season. And my dad was my first coach, and he's not a huge baseball guy, but one of the best coaches I've ever had. We talk about facilitators a lot with the youth stuff.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to know everything about the game, and he knows the game, and he was a good player. But if we sit down and talk about swing mechanics or pitching mechanics, but hard work, adversity, pushing through, being accountable and believing in yourself. I mean, that's the stuff I learned, when I was really young. And he was the first one to be out there on Sunday throwing with me, or, throwing me BP, just, hitting and hitting and hitting. But yeah, adversity is a huge part of this game. This is a fun game, but I mean, it's huge. I know everybody always talks about, you fail 7 out of 10 times at every level you're at and you're going to the Hall of Fame, but like there's a whole lot more failure involved even in that in this game. And one of the things we had our Marymount Christmas coaches Christmas party yesterday, and wives and girlfriends and fiancés, we all get together, at this time of year, and that was something I talked to the coaches about, and I'm going to keep instilling it this year. I mean, last year was so amazing, but we got to get back to having more fun with this game. Like whether we win or lose, like we don't talk a lot about winning at Marymount. We know like this is what we should do. But the thing that I've been trying to talk to these guys about is put ourselves every day in a position to win. That's your job. Just put yourself in a position to win. Because you can do everything right and lose. You do everything wrong and win, and we'll get back to work at practice after that, whether we win or lose. But that's been my message, because when you start winning, there is pressure, whether you like it or not. And last year was the first time with a team that I've coached, that every day we showed up to the field, I felt like we were going to win. I think it just finally happened, and we won a lot. But like, it was still like, am I even enjoying this? Waiting for it to happen.
Right.
And that's not going to happen this year. And I talked to a couple of my coaches too, and I feel like if we're feeling like that, how are the players feeling? And and that's going to be something we really focus on this year. Is there's going to be times we have to put up a butt, and if we're not getting after it, but it's all going to be about effort and enjoying this beautiful game, and enjoying being around each other.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I love what you just said about, sometimes you do have to get on a kid, it's part of it. But when we get on a kid, and I'm sure you're the same way that I am, I'm not getting on him because I'm mad at him, or I'm not getting on him because there's any ill feeling. I'm getting on him because I'm trying to motivate him. I know he's capable of better things. It doesn't happen very often because, again, well, like we said before, it's about those relationships that we're trying to build. And I just love that you said that, because it's important for people to understand that coach gets on a player. It's not because he's mad at him or he doesn't like him. It's totally different reason.
It is. It is. And it's, where can we find teachable moments? When do we have to push that button? When do we have to kind of wait and see if they'll make the adjustment on their own in anything? Like, Jimmy, we are doing it to win games, but we're not doing it like it's bigger than that. We actually have a mechanism to influence young men and hopefully send them into the world ready to, do better than other people, and hopefully take the messages that they've taught and help other people. Like that's the thing for me. Just, we have 50 guys. We're gonna have 52 this spring.
Right.
And we talked about it like with the convention. Can we learn one thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, can I impact one person? And if that person impacts one more person, like we've been given the mechanism. So why not use that mechanism? And every once in a while, it's got to be like, look, man, what you're doing right now is not right.
Yeah.
And it's usually effort based. It's like you said, I'm not mad at you because you made an error.
Right. Never.
I'm mad right now because you weren't going as hard as you can, and you can always control that.
Exactly. Yeah. And, again, to your point, if we, work on all of those other things, the intangibles, I like to call them, with players, then the winning comes. The winning comes on its own. We don't have to, like you said, I don't think I've ever said in my whole coaching career, we have to win. I don't think I've ever said that. We have to perform. Okay. We have to put in 100% effort and have a great attitude. We need to do all of that stuff. And then whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. And that's how it should be in life, right? Anything you're doing, anything you're doing.
Absolutely.
I mean, I had good grades. I was not a Dean's List guy. And I don't expect our whole team to be Dean's List guys. And I would have never thought that I would pay so much attention to grades as a head coach. But like, I'm and it's competitive too, but I'm super happy. Like we just got our grades for the fall, and it was like the highest ever. But again,
Right.
one of our biggest teams ever, and that's just showing me that they're focusing on. And look, man, if you're a 2.5 student, like we're not all rocket scientists, right? I understand if that's the best you're gonna do, right? But you better get to that. I don't expect you to be a 2.5 guy and get a 3.5. If you do, that's awesome.
Right.
But and I think that's the cool thing about this game as well is, if you individualize things to each player and what they really are, their personality, man, it's winning kind of takes care of itself at that point. It's the byproduct.
Yeah.
And it's winning in the classroom, it's winning on the field, it's winning in your social life, in your family. So
Yeah. It's like we say all the time, right? We want to be transformational, not transactional, right? So we want to coach the player, or I'm sorry, we want to coach the person first and the player second. And like you
yep.
said, guy's a 2.5 GPA guy. Okay, that's great. Get there, you know, get there. It's the same thing. Like you wouldn't expect a guy who's a singles doubles guy to start hitting 30 home runs a year because that's not what he does, and you would never push him to do that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So again, it's working with the person to their ability. Very simple.
I think that, and I don't want to get too sidetracked because I'm sure you got some different questions and things, but like that's something that kind of frustrates me when we get together for the youth summits and I feel like people think in this game, like if you want to play baseball, like you gotta do all the lessons, you gotta go to camps, you gotta do it all year round, and you gotta be a major league player, you know?
No,
No,
no.
teach these kids life lessons, get to know each individual freaking 8-year old that you have on your team, right?
Yeah.
And let them enjoy the game.
Yes.
You know, I something that kind of hit me was like Little League Baseball should be about anybody who wants to play and just teach them enough that they enjoy the game and that they can have a catch with their kid when they have a kid one day. That's it.
That's it.
And everything else is going to take care of itself, just like anything else. The best players are just going to keep going. The hardest workers are going to keep going. But I think there's a little bit of a stigma right now, and I think that's why you don't just it should be as easy as soccer or anything like that. Just go play, have fun, be
That's
with
it.
a group, learn some things, and if you like it, stick with it. If you don't, you know, that's fine too.
But this, you said you didn't want to take up too much time on this, but I think this is important that we talk about it because I think a lot of the problems, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, with youth baseball is there's too much pressure put on these kids. Okay, forget about like you said. What I mean, look, I know that it was 800 years ago when I played Little League baseball. I get that times were different. I understand. We didn't know anything about college baseball and we didn't know any of that stuff. We were just playing ball. We were having fun.
I think we're in an information age, and I understand that. Everybody's on their phone and they're seeing what other people are doing and things like that. And that it wasn't nearly like that when I played either. Like, but yeah, go out, have fun. Like you're talking to one of the most ultra competitive people you ever will. Win or lose, good game, bad game, go out and get some ice cream after. Like that's what baseball is about, right? You
Yeah,
know. Now, and that wasn't always happening for me, trust me, but like that's what it should be about. Like we got to simplify things, and this should be something that everyone should feel a part of.
yes,
There should be no, well, my kid's not good, so I'm not gonna play, or I'm not as good as him, so I'm not gonna play. Like just go play.
yeah,
Just go play and have some fun with your friends,
yeah.
and meet new friends.
Yeah, and I also think that something that I'm very passionate about is taking youth baseball coaches and making them understand that number one, and we touched on it, winning is not the end all be all. That should not be what you're going to play Little League baseball or even travel ball or whatever. That should not be your goal. Your goal should be to teach the boys as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And I think if that youth coaches understood the rudiments of the game to be able to teach them, not necessarily take, an 8-year-old kid and worry about whether or not he knows how to do bunt defenses or first and thirds or double cuts. Let's teach him how to run down the first base the right way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. And look, like you're a very good high school coach, right? You've been around this game for a long time. Can you control, like if you focus on nothing but winning, does that make your team win every time? Like I don't get it. Like we focus on that so much, but if anybody can actually do that as a coach, like sign me up because we'll go undefeated every year, right?
Right.
Like it's learn the game the right way for each individual, put them in a team atmosphere, let them work together, and at the end of the day, somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. If you work hard and you prepare, you're going to win more than you lose. But nobody can control winning and losing.
No,
So why is the emphasis on that?
no.
Compete, heck yeah, compete, compete. Even more than competing, just effort, effort, effort. Go out and try your hardest. Get after it.
Yeah.
Give me all you got, but you're still going to either win or lose that day. You really don't have much control over it.
Yeah, and I mean, I like to believe it or not. I like the way the direction this conversation is going because I know what I see as a high school coach, and I know, again, what frustrates me because I look at it and I say to myself, these are high school players. They should know this. They should know that. Why? Where's the misconnection? What are you seeing as a college coach coming from the high school ranks that kind of like make you scratch your head?
Yeah, I think that, well, I think it's good and bad. Like, I just think that in general, again, we talked about individualizing things for players, but I think that more, and I have an academy and I want people in there, but people are doing more specialized training than I think ever before. So you're, you know, and the high school coaches are getting these players, and you guys don't have a ton of time, right? To really install team aspects and baseball IQ and things like that. And I think individual talent, I think is through the roof right now, everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, but to win a baseball game, you got to be able to do more than throw hard and hit a ball far. You know what I mean? So I think that's and I don't think it's anyone's fault, but I think baseball IQ, I'm sure you see it. Again, you're the same way. Like these guys should know this, but as a coach, that's another thing we've been talking a lot about with our coaching staff, and I'm going to try to keep harping on because I'm guilty of this too, and it frustrates me. I will be like, this kid should know this. They should know this. But if they don't, we can't assume that they know anything. And if you just get to the basics and build up from there, I'm real big on progressions. But I think that we as coaches at the college and high school and travel levels, I think we assume that they learned the thing. Again, my dad, not a huge baseball guy in the grand scheme of things, but we knew where to be on cuts in Little League. We knew how to run the bases. We knew how to play catch. Guys can't play catch.
Yeah.
You want to talk about, you want to win? You better know how to play catch. I don't care how good you hit. If you can play catch, you're going to put yourself in a situation to win a lot of games. So I think those are the biggest things. And again, I'm not putting any fault on anything because, again, the talent is through the roof. But I think we get a lot of guys that we assume already know this stuff. And, it's a good and bad thing because we're reteaching it to some point. But, we're getting – I love team concepts at practice. Like that's what I look forward to. And my coaching staff is unbelievable to where I can be like, all right, position work with your coaches. All I do is say, boys, you got 30 minutes with them. Go do what you do. Right. But my favorite parts of practice is when we get pitchers and everybody together and we're working on bunt defense while we're working on bunts, while the pitchers are working on holds, just kind of getting everything together. But would you agree that I think the basic baseball IQ is kind of just at a lower level?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, and I agree with you also that, the athletes, because of, the almost year-round training, yes, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, they're all of that. But which is good. But I don't think that enough time is spent on what you just said. Situational awareness, baseball IQ, um, the simple things of the game that I kind of take for granted, tagging up, simple thing like that where guys you can see that they're not sure. So I have to as a high school coach, I gotta say, wait a minute, I didn't like the way that looked. All right, guys, and to your point, we break it down. Let's go over this. Let's make sure we understand it. So to your point, like we'll have our tryouts March 17th. I have 10 days to get them ready, and then we'll start playing scrimmages, and then we're off to the races. Okay. So it's not a lot of time. In New York State, we're not allowed to work with them in the off season in the public high school, which totally blows me away
Hmm. Yeah.
because we should be able to.
Yep.
Um, so again, a lot of, if I had all of that time, then I wouldn't gripe about it as much, I don't think.
Well, I think, during that time that you do have that short amount of time, it it's not anybody's fault, but like that's your talent evaluation time to see who's going to be who can already do these things and who's going to be out on the field for me, you
Yeah.
know? So it's a lot that goes into it. And, I'll tell you our recruiting secret. I don't think it's I don't know how big of a secret it is. If it is, then I hope guys out there listening don't take the players that we like. But to me, like we recruit from high school programs that we know are going to be prepared, that are winners. Now, look, we recruit all over the country, and if a guy can play and his team loses, we're not going to say no. But that is a big thing for us, is getting guys that we know are coming from championship caliber programs. Because you put a bunch of winners together, the culture changes instantly. They just what they're used to, right?
Yeah, sure.
And we go with coaches that we trust, that know are going to instill these basics as much as possible, and beyond. And like that's a huge recruiting tool for us. And I think that's why it's so important that at every age level, little league, again, just get them to know the basics. We don't have to be rocket scientists about this, but and especially at the high school level, the jobs that you guys do is imperative, because I know that we're not the only ones who go to certain programs. And you might be like the fifth best player on your team and the second best player on this team. We're going to go with the fifth best player. Like, you're giving them opportunities that some other guys might not have, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, because it kind of goes back to what we just said before. If you have a winning culture and you're winning all of the time, well, it's because of all of the basic things that you're teaching your players, and the winning takes care of itself. So, I mean, that makes all the sense in the world, because you're getting players that most likely have been trained the right way,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to getting a team where, like you said, you may have a team that maybe marginal team, we'll call it, okay, and they have a kid on it that's a stud, right? Well, okay, he may be a stud, but what's his attitude like? What is he, how does he deal with failure? How does he prepare? What is his effort like? He may be naturally talented, but if you take another kid from that team that wins all the time, well, most likely he's going to be in that right mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
I mean, you put a bunch of good people together. And you talked about it earlier, good human beings. All of a sudden, you start seeing your winning percentage go up.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's it's it's
no
kind of
doubt.
it's crazy, and I think it starts at all levels. And again, winning is not everything. Like, this is the types of things, to me, that kind of leads to the winning happening. Um, and again, it's so important. Like the what all the youth coaches do, um, is so important to the development of these kids. Because again, I think a lot of times we think, great, too, he needs to be playing in college. He needs to play pro ball. but there's so many things that go into it that actually give you that opportunity. But we want to jump to that as opposed to focusing on what did all these guys do to get there, you know?
Yeah, which is
And I
something
think we
that,
do that a lot in society in general, so.
yeah, yeah, because like you said, what did they do to get there? And most people don't know. They have no idea. They think, well, my son he's very talented. He's on, and again, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but your kid may be the best player on a very marginal team. Okay. That parent thinks that he's Derek Jeter. Okay. They've never seen him play against a really talented team and where he would stack up against that ability. They don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
they think that their player's a lot better than he really is. So
I think we get trapped in our again, it's human nature, but we get trapped in our own bubble, right? In like Northern Virginia, huge, like tons of people. New York, tons of people, right? So we're actually in some big bubbles, but nobody looks outside. They don't understand that there's 1,000 Northern Virginias all over the country.
yeah.
You
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
they don't understand that there's other New Yorks. Like, it's just we're just stuck in. Well, he does this, and this compared to this person, but yeah, but like that kid does the same things in Tennessee, but his coaches say that he's been a team captain since he was a sophomore and leads weight room and has a 3.7 GPA and does community, like, it's everywhere, but we kind of get trapped in where we are and don't understand that like the coaches that are coming to see you are only here for a day or two, and then they're going to another bubble and another bubble and another. And that doesn't even include, like, we went to Puerto Rico this summer and it was just unbelievable experience. I had been down there one time and we really went um to recruit and build some relationships. And I mean, you want to talk about kids that are hungry and live for baseball. I mean,
Mhm.
that's their passion. Like, and like that's another country. And there's other countries too, so it's a big baseball world. But at the end of the day, if you just get after it and you outwork everybody who's around you, that's going to be, and you have a little bit of talent and you got a little bit of baseball IQ, you're going to go as far as you want to go.
Exactly.
But you got to keep your eyes open to all the different, especially in today's college world. You better, have a broad, keep your options very open in a broad spectrum now.
So let's go there. I'm actually going to
I
leapfrog.
I
I was
thought we might.
because I was going to go to something else, but I can always circle back to that. Um, yeah, let's talk about the current landscape and what the hell is going on with college baseball.
Every year I'm like, that was the craziest year in college baseball. And then it just gets, well, it's college athletics, but we're in the baseball realm of it. But it just gets crazier and crazier. And I had a talk with a player. Had this talk a couple times with players, but and they're reaching out to people, especially when it comes to the portal, that they trust. And that's great. But you know, unless you're involved in it, you have no idea what's going on. So like some of the information that they get was good a year and a half ago, but it's wrong now. Like if you got a home in college baseball right now, especially if you're a 25 or a 26, hold on to it.
Oh yeah,
Would be my best advice.
oh yeah,
And I don't think it's fair for the marginal kids coming out of high school that, would normally have a place to go. Again, unless they open up their recruiting outside of their area, basically, and look for some schools that, people have probably never heard of Marymount at places, but then there's schools like that everywhere.
yeah,
But, it used to kind of be that you could just, I'm in a certain area and here's the D1s, D2s, D3s, the JUCOs. Now NAIAs are going to be so sought after. And you didn't have to go much further than that. Like, to me, you've got to broaden your horizon. There's just the numbers aren't there, especially if you want to go to Division 1, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. I'm afraid of the the effect. I mean, let me back up a little bit. I've always been a big proponent of JUCO. I thought that that's what high school, and this is even going back years ago, that's what high school players should shoot for. Go to JUCO, get your feet wet, get the experience of playing at the college level, and then go on wherever you want.
Yep.
But what I see is happening now is getting into a JUCO is going to be very, very difficult. So,
They're I think they are obviously your Division threes are it's already been really good. Like we just got a pitcher last week, a freshman that's going to be coming in and pitching for us this year. Like guys that probably would have never stepped foot on campus 5 years ago. And it's happening everywhere because they want to play, right?
right, right,
But I think your Division threes who really recruit and get after it, and your JUCOs I think are just gonna be salivating. Because like to me, and again with the facility and everything, for years I was the 17U coach, and I would help guys, get placed in college if they wanted to do that and work for them and things like that. And JUCO used to kind of be, if you don't have good grades, go there, learn what college life is about, develop your skills, get to a good place that cares about academics so that once you're done, you can transfer out and continue your career. But I'm seeing guys with 4.0s go to JUCOs now.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
and JUCO's great baseball, man. It's some awesome baseball. And it's the same thing with the NAIAs. A few years ago, I didn't even know what NAIA is, but now
yeah,
I'm like, why not?
yeah,
You want to play baseball? You want to get an education? Like, you know, the options are kind of shrinking a little bit. Again, if you're kind of just into your own mold of this is what I'm going to do, but to me, people just got to open up their eyes to everything that's out there now. And college coaches want guys that have already played in college, so JUCO is an amazing route right now.
yeah. And like you said, I really don't think that people understood. And again, now it's going to be even more so. But they never understood that. I've heard people say that JUCO was just an extension of high school, and I don't know where that ever came from.
No.
No,
Uh, go watch it. Well, here's what people don't do. They don't go watch
yeah,
practices in games. Go watch a JUCO game in Florida.
yeah,
That's some of the best baseball in the country.
yeah,
Like no matter what division you're at,
yeah, yeah,
So, but it's all about opportunities and that gut feeling of what do I want to do, and am I gonna work to develop, and junior college is a great route, especially a lot of these places that do really good with their academics, to where you can, baseball is not Power Five football. It's
yeah,
your grades are going to open up more opportunities in baseball than your talent will.
yeah.
We can't
Absolutely.
we can't say, oh yeah, you run a 4.2 40. Let's make sure this kid gets into our school. It's different. It's
Right.
not basketball. It's not football. So it's interesting. Like the best way I heard it, I was at a clinic or a showcase this summer. And a Division 1 coach was there, and we did a big talk in the stands with all the parents. A bunch of coaches were out answering questions and stuff. And this is before anything had really been set in stone. And I don't even know if it's set in stone now, but it seems like it's happening across the board. And it's like, well, if you recruit for 40 players, because that's our roster, right? And they're recruiting 2 years ahead of everybody
Yeah,
else, you
yeah,
know. Um, so we're planning on 40 guys. And then there's schools out there that bring in 47, 48 and make cuts, right? But let's just say it's 40 and there's 300 Division 1 schools and you have to get to 34. 6 times 300 is 1,800 kids looking for a new home.
yeah.
Now, whether that's they have to decommit or they've already been playing, that could be a junior, right?
Good point. Yeah,
That they're going to be looking for somewhere. And, you know, to me, the Power Fives are going to take the best, like mid-major guys, right?
Yep.
And then they're going to have to get rid of guys. And that's when the mid majors are going to jump on those guys. So they're going to have to get rid of guys. And the cool thing about D3 and D2 is we don't have roster limits at most. I
Right.
mean, a lot of the schools, especially like our school doesn't have a football team. So we're like the football team. Um, so that's kind of the model you're seeing a lot of D2s take as well, having like a developmental program, get some JV games and things like that. But you're seeing rosters of like 70 guys, so there is room for people. But it's like anything else. You get your shot, you're gonna have to perform to be out there, no matter where you are. But it's very interesting just because I mean, this summer is gonna be crazy with
I can
guys who
imagine.
have committed that these D1 schools are going to have to figure out who they want to keep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
and the numbers are high right now. So
Yeah. What I like about it is what you alluded to, is that, it's going to push players down, 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 better players coming down to D2, D3, and so on. What I love about that is that I believe that travel baseball, and we touched on it a little bit when I said if a kid is playing on a marginal team versus playing on a really good team. Um, Years ago, travel baseball used to be the best of the best, and that was it. Okay, there was no, it was all of the best teams best players in an area playing against best players in another area. So I'm hoping that what's going to happen is, and again, trickle down and push down, where travel baseball is only going to be the best of the best, because those are the kids that are trying to get into these JUCOs, because that's the only place they're really going to be able to go to. And my hope is that it's going to take the marginal travel baseball players and push them back into community-based baseball. And I'm hoping that happens.
that's it's there. And community-based baseball is what baseball is built on. Like
Yeah.
that's a good thing. Like those kids should be playing
Yes.
there, right? I think that would be super cool. I agree with you. When you talk about, like, there's a lot of kids that have done nothing wrong that are not going to have a spot to play, right? Even
Right.
if they're already on teams. And we talk about the trickle down effect a lot. There's also a lot of kids in that portal that I think want the same attention that they had, like when they were coming out of high school. They want to be able to post it. They want to get likes. I think that's huge. I think it's probably over half the kids, to be honest, in the portal. And I think it's a trickle up effect, because I think that so many players have gotten used to, I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but not learning what loyalty is
Oh,
at
okay.
the travel
Oh,
ball
yeah.
level. And it's, oh, yeah, you don't want to play on this team. Okay, we'll go to this team. Okay, we'll go to this team. I think kids have gotten used to that, and it's going up at the same time, where like guys who don't have a choice in the matter, who are doing everything right, are also having. I think the portal gets a bad rap because of that, where there's guys that just they have no choice. They need to go in there. They want to play baseball. They've earned that, but there's not enough room for them at the school that they're at.
I'm going to tell you a quick story about what you just said, which proves your point. Okay. So a few years ago, when I was at Stepanek High School, I had a freshman play for me. Really, really talented kid. Okay. His dad was a little much, we'll say, and the kid had a bad attitude because of dad. Okay. So he played for me as a freshman. The following year, when he was going to be a sophomore, he expected to be on varsity. However, varsity had a committed D1 shortstop. So he wasn't going there. He was staying with me on JV, and he left the school, went to another school. Okay, he stayed there 1 year, left there, went to another school. Then he gets recruited, Power Five school, and he just reported, this August to that school. And I just saw him maybe about a month ago that he entered the transfer portal. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a kid that has all of that talent, right? And because of the no, like you said, the no loyalty thing, the road doesn't look good from the way I see it.
No. It's not a good look. And again, I don't have issues. We've done great in the portal, but again, it came back to the guys that we brought in. Like we developed a relationship with them. It wasn't just like, oh, he went to a D1, he's going to be one of our best players. It was like this guy is going to fit in with the guys that we already have. You know,
Yes.
um, and and again, it's some people. I if I want to take a job tomorrow, I can do that, right? So I think these players should have that opportunity. If I want to go somewhere else, but I feel like there should be some reasoning behind it,
Right. Right.
not just I don't feel like it anymore, or like, this guy, like, why don't you stay? If you're not starting, why don't you stay and beat out the guy who's starting?
Exactly. Exactly.
But I think it's just been a learned type of thing. You see it all the time in travel ball, and it sounds like high school as well. And again, is there a situation where like, coach, I need to be on the field for the next 2 years and it's just not going to happen? Then maybe you go somewhere where you can play. But like, where is that? Like, we want guys who are going to fight for what they want. And
Exactly.
I know not Marymount. I'm saying just like in general. That's
In
that's what
general.
I want. I want guys. All right, I tell you, you're not going to play that much this year in your exit meeting. All right, coach, let's see. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
let's see who.
Yeah.
Right. My job. I tell them all the time, like, don't complain. Don't Your goal shouldn't be to be like one of the nine guys on the field. Like your goal should be that every time when I ask my assistant coaches who should be in the lineup that day, everyone says your name. And
Exactly.
you should be like, they should all be putting you in the 3-4 hole. Like, that's not going to be for everybody, but that's what you should be focusing on. Not like, I just want to get in there.
Right.
Like because that's what I do with my coaches. I make the final lineup, obviously, but the night before, I text the pitching coaches, the hitting coaches, give me your lineup for tomorrow.
I love that.
And we're usually pretty much all on the same page,
Yeah.
most of the
Yeah.
time. And then, when guys are wondering why they're not in there, like I can say, like, talk to your position coach, because literally nobody put you on this list.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And I mean, I love that. I love the idea of, making them understand that, look, I always say this. Anytime I make a decision, I have a reason for it, and I will be happy to share that with you because
yeah.
I look at it that if I share it with you, then maybe you could correct what's not happening that's getting you in that spot.
Yeah.
But and again, it's kind of hard too with high school players because they've come up through that travel world from when they were very young. And let's face it, in travel baseball, you're paying to play on that team, so you're going to play. It may not be as much as everybody, but you're going to play. Well, I always tell first thing I tell players is that I don't have to play any of you.
Mhm.
I don't I I don't. Okay. So I'm putting my best 9, 10, 11 guys out on that field, the guys that give me 100%. Not necessarily the most talented guys.
Hey, and it's the ones that work the best together, because you're making
Yes.
that decision to put those guys out there, not for each individual, but what's going to be best for all 25 guys, all 50 guys, like at that moment in time, which group is going to give us the best chance for all of us to walk out of this game happy? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's not a personal thing if you're not playing. I mean, I would hope in almost all cases, I hope it's not a personal. There's times that you got to play the guy that doesn't part their hair right, and things like that. But if they're doing everything else right and the guys love them and they're working well together, like sometimes you got to go against what you think, you know, and yeah, man, I don't shave, right? But no, coach, I'm not going to shave, but he's raking and the guys love him, and he's helping our team. And again, he's working his butt off. He's giving us everything he got. Like, it's not it's not rocket science. And
No.
again, if the end goal is to prepare these young men and women for life, They need to start having these real one-on-one conversations early in high school and college. The door is always open. You want to know? You might think something's wrong and you come in and talk, and I'm like, no, you're doing everything right, man. Just keep it going.
Yeah.
Or we might be talking about like you really need to do these things, try doing these things this way. Try it and see what happens.
Right.
And you might do everything right and still not get out on the field. That's the tough part, you
Right.
know.
Right.
But
Yeah.
you hope that you build a team where everyone's doing things right and everyone's talented, and it makes those decisions really, really tough.
Right.
But then it makes it real easy to not put guys in the lineup when, oh, you should be pitching, but your grades were this. You're not traveling with us. Like, you should be on the field pitching at this away game, but I'm going to keep you in class because you didn't get the grades. While we travel, you're going to stay and go to school.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I mean, that right there is the easiest one. Or if a
Mhm.
kid has a bad attitude, or, I mean, I'm very particular about the bat flips and the celebrations. And, if a guy throws his helmet because he struck out, you do any of that stuff, you're making it easy for me because then I
Mhm.
just say, go
Yeah.
sit down, you go play.
Yeah.
It's that easy. Do it the right way, period. So one of the things that I like to ask most people is if you had one piece of advice to give to younger players, okay, and up to 13, up to high school level, what would your advice be?
Effort. It's just, um, I've learned to praise effort more than the outcome now. And I don't think that younger players understand that. It's something that I really look for in play when I'm watching practice, like who's giving that effort when they don't have to. Um, who's doing it when they think nobody's really watching. Like if we're running out of double on that round of BP, who's really getting after, as long as they're not injured, they're not coming off a hamstring or something, but who's giving that effort, who's laying out in the outfield, when during BP and things like that. That's one. It's a cliche, and I know that that's one thing that you can always control, but like it's so important. Just, and I think coaches should just preach, especially at those ages. I don't care if you drop the pop up that you're 9 years old and you drop the pop up, right? Did you sprint to that spot? Did you try to catch it? Good work. It's kind of like the thing that you hear, like you know, you know, like with little kids, like when you praise them for opening up a door for somebody, little things like that, as opposed to, I think effort is something that's overlooked, and I think it can take you a really, really long ways.
Well, yeah, I agree with that, number one. And the other thing too, and I like that you alluded to it, was, yeah, the 9-year-old kid that sprints over, goes hard and this, and the ball hits him in the glove and it pops out. I believe that at very young ages, we need to teach players how to fail. Okay. Because if we get that out of the way when they're 9, 10, 11, then God, what a better world it's going to be when a kid makes an error and he understands that that's part of the game. Let me go back at it.
What if we taught, like, from the day you start playing baseball, out is a bad thing as a hitter? It's never talked until you get older. It's never talked about, like, was that a good out? Like, there's a difference between outs,
Sure.
but they're just, and you see it all the way through high school and college. And if they get out, they're mad. Like, how can we instill at the beginning? No, you did exactly what you were supposed to do. On that one, you didn't. That one we don't like, but on this one, you did everything you were supposed. Like that's a good outcome, But it's so black and white. Until the guys who really buy into that, that's how you deal with failure. That you understand what's really failure and what's not. You know.
Right. What's part of the game, right? I mean, Springer says it the best where he says, I give you permission to line out 4 times tonight.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna stay in the lineup.
Yeah. 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 But I mean, you get a 9, 10, 11-year-old kid, he hits the ball hard 4 times right at the shortstop. He's got the head down. And, on the way home, mom and dad are saying, well, you went 0 for 4 today, this and that.
Hmm?
No, he did everything right.
I know it's tough, but I mean that is the game, and it's just if you don't know that, I didn't know about that stuff until I was started coaching, really. It
Yeah.
was yeah, it's my batting average, and I would get mad about it too. It's the competitive nature, but like if you can teach that at a very young age, like to kind of change the stigma of it, you're going to see a whole lot better production and probably a lot more people that stay in the game as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with, again, and I hate to keep beating up on them, but I can't help it. It's parent involvement, okay? Because the parents don't understand. So they're, again, like I said, he hits it hard, he goes 0 for 4, and the parent thinks he had a bad day, okay? When I was a kid, we talked about it earlier, there weren't any parents around. We were in the schoolyard, we were in the field, we were playing baseball. And if I went 0 for 4, well, the next game I was doing everything in my power to not go 0 for 4. So I was teaching myself how to self-correct, how to do
Mhm.
all of this stuff because my father couldn't tell you which end of a bat to hold.
Yeah.
So I think that has a lot to do with it. That, again, like you said it in the very beginning, just let them go and have fun. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, dude, just enjoy this.
Yeah.
Enjoy this. Enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I agree with you 100%. I don't think a lot of the parents when that happens, they don't understand it either.
Yeah.
They don't know what we know. They're really not doing anything wrong because they don't have the information yet.
Yes.
Now, if they have the information and they're doing it, then yes, there's a big problem. But you know, have you seen Brandon Geyer's Major League Mindset?
No.
He's an area guy. He played for the Indians, went to UVA, and he's doing a lot of. It's called Major League Mindset. He's doing a lot of the mental game and things like that, and it's really good stuff. But you know, the first time I listened to him, and our program does it with them. He's come to talk to Marymount, and he's right in the area. But first time I heard him talk, I was like, "This is amazing for the players. Don't get me wrong, and coaches, but like every parent should be listening to this stuff.
Yeah.
I think it would be more important for the parents than the players. And like whenever we push out his stuff, I'm trying to be like, look, parents, please jump on there as well because it's a lot of stuff you talk about the car ride home, and if you don't have the information, then it sucks. But you can't really blame them, right?
Yeah. No. I mean, I believe that it's our job as coaches, not necessarily college coaches, but us guys that are at the travel and the high school level, to educate our parents. I really
Mhm.
think that that's where they get it from. Because again, they're not going to listen. They're not going to go online and look up, stuff to learn about the game. We have to do it. And
Mhm.
those are things that I hammer home in my parent meetings, okay, about what expectations are, what will be allowed, what won't be allowed. And I go over the stuff that we were just talking about. Kid goes 0 for 4. I don't want to hear anything from you people. I want you to build that kid up. I want
Yeah,
you to help him, and they look at me like, whoa. I'm like, that's not a bad thing. You have to help him.
I love it. I love it. It's so right.
Yeah,
Or else 0 for 4 is going to turn into 0 for 12
bingo.
and not hard line drives. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um,
Outstanding.
okay, one last thing, and then we'll wrap it up. Um, if you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be? And I'm talking about in your coaching career.
Oh, I think it's something that I'm still working on. Um, what I've kind of learned is winning and losing is not, it's not an action. It's not an event. It's a feeling. Um, and the loss, like for me, the wins are such high highs and the losses are such low lows, and a lot of the stuff we've been talking about, like, and it's, again, that's what I'm really trying to work on, and I'm trying to preach to our coaches. And I you know I'm not going to feel good when I come home after a loss. Like, that's never going to change, but I don't think it has to be as bad of a feeling as it has been in the past. I want to enjoy these moments more. And again, I've always had good relationships with the players, but when I first started coaching, it was just all about how can I get that high of the competitiveness that I don't have anymore as a player. I wish now, when I was younger, I thought about the whole picture like I do now, where it's not just all about that. It's a blast. Not a lot of people get to do this, but it's the text messages when a guy has a kid or a big event happens in their life. And I think I've always had great relationships with the guys, especially when I was an assistant coach as well. But I think the mindset of, yes, it's competitive, but like, it doesn't have to be the end of the world when you lose, and it can't be the best feeling in the world when you win either. Some
Yeah.
sort of middle ground there.
And there's other ways too to have those victories, we'll say, or that competitive. In other words, you know, you have a kid, and maybe he's a marginal player, and you feel that you could help him. So over the course of his 4 or 5 years that he's with you, you see that progression, and you see him getting better and better. Well, you know what? That's a huge victory. Okay.
Yes, yes, it
And
is.
I believe if we look at it that way, um, that, yeah, then again, we kind of, beating a dead horse, but the wins in the game will take care of themselves if we can grow these players. And, that's it. It's difficult. I mean, it, it's not easy, but, like you said, you're a competitive person. I'm a competitive person. That's a challenge to me,
Yep.
you know?
Yep. Is
So
that something that you would kind of look back and try to give yourself advice? You've been doing this for a long time.
without a doubt, yeah. I mean, as a younger coach, definitely, to be more transformational. Um, when I was a young coach, and funny thing, like you had mentioned, you kind of talked about it a little bit. I had a guy who coached with me when my son was young, and he wasn't really a baseball guy. He was a dad, and his
Mhm.
kids were on the team. He had two boys on the team, and he wanted to coach. He coached with me. You know what, Mike? He taught me so much about how to, I guess you would say, how to care and how to think about the other side of things. Yeah, I'm trying to win a baseball game, and he's like, "Hey, stupid." He said, "Kid's been sitting on the bench for the last, two games. You want to get him in?"
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
start to realize that he taught me a lot. And yeah, if I was, that's the stuff that I would want to do better.
Yeah. That's outstanding. It's perspective. You got to think of things not how you think of it. How is that person maybe thinking? How is that person maybe? Because it's going to be different all the way around. There's going to be some guys that are thinking like you in the moment, but majority of them aren't, even if you're saying the same thing to all of them.
Right. Right. And then to me, that's where, and I'm sure you're the same way, body language is really important. We need to be able to be good body language readers so that we can see how to handle certain situations with players.
Yep. Yep.
So
That's the chess match, man. That's why we love this stuff.
exactly. So, all right, I'm heading down Thursday, so I'll be there. Figure about 4 or 5 o'clock Thursday afternoon. And Mike, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you are too.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a blast, man.
Yeah. But I got to tell you something. I appreciate you coming on this show immensely. This was great. I thought the conversation was fantastic. And
I love it, man. I really enjoyed it. And I think, like I said, I listened to your other ones, and Got some great information, and I think you're doing a really good thing here. So if I can ever help, please let me know. But I'm looking forward to seeing you this week and having a good time. It's the AVCA.
Yep. I can't thank you enough, Mike, and have a good night.
All right. Thanks a ton, Jimmy.
Now, what a pleasure that was to spend some time with Coach Mike Cassidy from Marymount University. You know, I was lucky enough to meet Mike at the last two ABCA Youth Baseball Summits, and let me tell you something. I quickly learned that Mike is one of those coaches that genuinely cares about people. As you can tell from this episode and the conversation that we had, he is really dedicated to the game. He's committed to his players, and he has a passion for teaching the finer points of the game. So I hope you found this episode as inspiring as I did. And listen, if you want to keep up with Coach Cassidy and the Marymount Saints, follow them. Follow them on their journey this season. So, if you enjoyed today's show, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Visit the website at thectbshow.net. Listen to your favorite episodes and please leave us a review. You can also reach out to the show on social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please drop us an email at clearingthebases@gmail.com. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content and reach more people in the baseball community just like you. And also, let me know if you'd like to be a guest. Until then, coaches and players, keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you on the next one.